conversations are real, and the culture wakes up first. Pour up, tune in, and let's talk. Coffee talk. Go. Listen. Presented by Spotify. You know what it is.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome back to another exciting podcast here today. And this is Coffee Talk, presented and powered by Spotify. Ladies and gentlemen, boy howdy. Thank you guys for, tuning in to our radio show here today. We've got a great one for you guys. Happy Monday, by the way. It is February 9th. This is the week where Valentine's Day, everybody. Valentine's Day is upon us this season. Of course, it is going to be on Saturday. First time ever that we're having Valentine's Day on a Saturday. So I've been seeing those memes when it comes down to what we will be doing on Valentine's Day. If you guys know, you know. This goes out to all of my wrestling fans. This is meme on TikTok where there's Stone Cold. He was cutting that promo. And then when he was cutting that promo, it was what you doing on Valentine's Day. And then, in his promo, he's like, yeah, I've been working out. I've been doing bench presses. I was doing tricep extensions. I've been doing some thrusting. I've been doing some bench presses. I've been doing some squats. So that's what's going on Valentine's Day this Saturday. We hope that we hope that you have your plans ready. If you have your plans ready, for sure. But let me tell you something. It feels good to, first and foremost, have a great few days of sunshine. Let me tell you, I got my coffee here in the radio station, and now we have some sunshine and some sunshiny weather the last few days. It's been amazing. Church has been going. If you guys know, you know. You guys can follow me on my Instagram, Kennedy Lucas NBA, by the way. We did a church post, and then we did a haircut post. Shout out to Fadeologist. Got me looking right here in the radio station. So, like I say, I want to say thank you to everyone that tunes into our radio show, Coffee Talk, presented by Spotify. The last few episodes has been amazing. A lot of people have been really accepting the radio show really, really well. A lot of my close friends like, hey, what's this new show that you just launched? And I was just, I'm saying, yeah, it's Coffee Talk, but it's, it's a short little podcast to get the week started. And people have been loving it. So I do want to say to a lot of people, thank y'all so very much. This is the show that I just genuinely enjoy doing, as well as K.L.P. Aftermath. And guys, you don't want to miss it. What Had Happened Was podcast was uploaded a few days ago. Me and Evelyn in the other studio getting something set for, the episode last time, and it was very fantastic. We got to see each other again after the snow days that we've had, and a lot of people tuned in. A lot of people liked our social media accounts when it comes down to our promo, and we given the stories and Evelyn's new car. So I am very, very humble and blessed about that episode. Guys, go check that episode out. It is fantastic. Now you guys clicked on the show because I gotta make sure. My producers say once you get on the show, don't babble about random stuff. But I wanted to get something completely off my chest. And I do have a review of a show that I've started watching that I will, of course, review on this morning's show. But as I was in the house, I was sipping my coffee. I was making my latte. I was sipping my coffee, and long and behold, I came here to the studio, came to the offices, and I say that I don't want to get political in this show, and sometimes I don't. But I gotta say, I think we as a society are starting to understand some stuff. Now, granted, this is not a political show. I do have a TV review that I'm going to give you guys shortly. And of course, when it comes down to Simone and Racheal and Cera, we all got some interesting news to talk about. I won't talk about the Super Bowl that happened last night because I haven't finished watching the entirety of it. Typically, when I do a big review like that, I like to watch the entirety, take my notes. Shout out to Bad Bunny. He did his thing at the Super Bowl. Very, very fantastic for that. And of course, I was rooting for the Seahawks. That was the team I was rooting for to win the Super Bowl. Not to say the Patriots are not a great team. I just think the Seahawks just had a better team this year. But I will do all that review on the K.L.P. Aftermath podcast tomorrow, Tuesday. There is no hatred in my mind. There is no malice in my mind. I do say to a lot of people, you believe in what you believe in. You vote for who you vote for, right? Now, if you guys don't know, there's been a topic of conversation the last few days that there's been a social media post from Donald Trump's account and other people's accounts. They're depicting Barack Obama and Michelle Obama as monkeys, apes. And a lot of people went to TikTok. A lot of people went to Twitter. A lot of people went to YouTube. And of course, this is my show. I get to say whatever, really, to really talk about anything I would like to on the show. But I get very, very sad when it comes down to something like this because it's disheartening. It is sad. It's sick. It is dementic, is ungodlike. You know, my pastor on Sunday, he said a little something, his piece a little bit when it comes down to it. And I get very, very sad because this is the world that we're living in, right? And Trump says that he has nothing to do with it. He said, hey, it wasn't him. Cut the foolery. We know. I think a lot of people are starting to understand and get woke. And this is what some people voted for. I'm sad about it because honestly, I do remember when Barack Obama when elected president. I remember where I was. You know, it was a very joyous moment to have this come out on social media, and for this to be the topic of conversation. To me, and I think this says to a lot of my brothers and sisters in our community. I will say it on Coffee Talk presented by Spotify because, you know, if Trump and other people who chimed in and liked the post and thought it was funny, that only says what you really truly feel about black people. Right? If you're liking this post, again, Barack and Michelle Obama, influential, history making man and woman of God, first and foremost. And honestly, I will say, and again, I don't like to be so political on our shows, but yeah, Barack Obama's one of my favorite presidents. Not because he's black, because he he stands for everything that is right in America. That's why, I mean, when in 2008 I was young, I couldn't vote for him, but this is why my parents voted for him. This is why we're riding the team. And yeah, I guess you could say because he's black, of course. It just says a lot. Right? I'm glad that I haven't had any uncomfortable conversations at K.L.P. Entertainment. Everybody knows how I feel. Everybody that works here at K.L.P. Entertainment, again, whether they're black, white, Indian, because we have people that work for K.L.P. Entertainment from all over, right? We don't discriminate, but they know, hey, once you sign, this is a black-owned business. It's not to say that we're just hiring black because we got some white folks that's working for us. We got some Indian folks that's working for us too. But they know, and they for the cause. I think this is sad. I think this thing shouldn't happen, but it does happen. I think a lot of people should understand. A lot of people should know what's going on into today's society. Everybody knows that, hey, this is how they feel about us, black folks. It's how they feel. And he's not apologizing. He has no remorse. He doesn't care. He think it's funny. Right? That's why when 2028 comes, that's why I say, and I said this the last 2 years, because again, the last 6 years I was able to vote. It's important of who you vote for. It's so important. Like I say, and I'm reminiscing what my pastor said at church yesterday, as I agree with PD, Pastor Daniel, shout out to you. It's ungodlike. That's something that's demonic. That's something that demon has made. That's something that I've seen, and it's not to say this is the first time that we've seen something that racist, because yes, it is racist. Not the first time, probably won't be the last time, but everybody has to understand and realize what this country is doing, right? I've had a lot of conversations outside of K.L.P Entertainment where people voice that, and honestly, they have a right. People have the right to voice their opinion for sure. We can't take people's rights away from them with how they feel, but people are getting bold. People are getting bold. People are saying some wildish things, some racist bigotry things, and they're not apologetic about it. Like, they're getting bold. I've had some conversations around where people said some things like, it's like, okay, this, how do you feel about me then? Because I'm black and I'm proud to be black. So if you think this is okay, we can't be friends. Now, luckily, I haven't ran into any of my close friends. They know they ride for the cause. But all my outer friend circle, I haven't had any bigotry with my outer friend circle yet. And I have very few outer friends, or outer circle friends, I'll say. But if you like what Trump did with Barack and Michelle Obama, putting their faces in front of monkeys, yeah, okay, so you ain't rocking with black people. And therefore, I can't be friends with you because I'm black. So it's just one of those things that look, it's sad, but this is what's going on. I say a lot of people, please be woke, understand what's going on, understand a lot of things that you got going on when it comes down to the world. This is what I said. I said this to Byron. Shout out to Byron, my barber. I said to him, we're in a buck and weave kind of system right now. You got a buck and weave in this country. You got a buck and weave in your lifetime, and prayer, right? Because people are getting bold, bold, to where they growing some cojones, right? They getting a little wobbly with it. But like I said, I just wanted to kind of give my take on the first few minutes of Coffee Talk, because this is just how I feel, and it's very sad that this is happening. I do say to a lot of people, if you are a content creator, a radio show host, a podcaster, a broadcaster like myself and like Evelyn too, shout out to Evelyn, your voice is powerful. And if you're able to use your platform to speak your mind on how you feel about certain things, I think that's very, very important. Especially if you've got a media company like us, K.L.P Entertainment, is very, very important. So I was, and I'm gonna turn the show here because that was kind of a negative, but we're gonna turn it into a positive. I did watch a show throughout the weekend. This weekend has been very, very good, by the way. We hope that everyone has had a great weekend. I do encourage people to, when it comes down to the weekend, shut your brain off. That's one of the things I try to do. I turn Lucas Tech Group business off. K.L.P Entertainment's turned off for the weekend. Everything is from us is turned off for the weekend, so we can enjoy the weekend. I was able to enjoy the weekend with my family, give it or take. My family, shout out to my family. We had game night. We had a very fun game night over at my mom's house, and we've had we had wings and some snacks, and then we played a lot of family games. That's just one of the things that I love that my family does, is we get together and we play board game. Well, we had one board game, Monopoly, which we didn't play, but I really, really enjoy playing. There's this few games. It is CP time, Black Family Feud, and Tell Me Without Telling Me. I think that was the last game that we played. Very, very good. Again, for the culture, I love it, and it's very fitting that you buy. Again, anybody can play. Well, not anybody can play CP Time and Black Family Feud, right? You gotta understand the culture there, but it's very fitting because it's Black History Month. Shout out to all the people. Happy Black History Month, by the way. So I was able to have some good times with my family. It's been really, really fun this weekend, and I look forward to more. But as this weekend was going through and I went to gym and whatnot, I started to watch this show, and the show is actually not bad. Kate Winslet stars in this show as Mare of Easttown. Mare of Easttown. Mare of Easttown is an HBO crime drama a miniseries featuring Kate Winslet as a detective in Pennsylvania suburbs. Acclaimed for its gripping narrative and performance. Of course, the series won 4 Emmys, including Outstanding Lead Actress, awarded to Kate Winslet, highlighting its impact and quality. Very, very good show. Now, she's playing this character. Her character is Mare Sheehan, and she is, she lived the glory days as a lady hawk, night hawk or lady hawk, and it's a basketball team at her high school. And 25 years ago, she scored the winning goal. And now that she's fast forward later, she's still in the town. She's a private detective, right? So she's going through this life of being divorced with kids, and now her husband is re-engaged to somebody new, and now it just kind of leaves her in the dust to kind of wallow in her, I don't want to say self-pity, but wallow in her dust, because they're all in this small town, to where she you think after high school you'll have your glow up and your peak, but she already peaked. So now she is a detective in this small town of Easttown, and she's trying to fill out and solve this mystery. And then one of her friends that played on the same high school team 25 years ago, her daughter went missing, and of course Mare Sheehan, played by Kate Winslet, she is the detective that was on the case to find her daughter. They couldn't find her daughter after 1 year, right? So now she has to bear that burden, because they're no longer friends, and a lot of the other friends kind of like moved on, right? Moved out of Pennsylvania, made something of their life, quote unquote. And now you have Mare, who is just kind of stuck around, who is just kind of just lasering around when it comes down to wanting to be better. But this is it. And it's one of those things. It kind of reminds me, because I know a lot of my I've had a lot of friends from where I grew up in Central Georgia, and a lot of my quote unquote, and they're now my Facebook friends audience, because they're not here in Atlanta, they're still in Central Georgia. And it just kind of reminds me of that, because the folks that I grew up with at the Central Georgia part, they're still there, and they're 3 kids in, and that's it. And it's not to say that's bad, because that might be it for some people. I'm not saying that that's horrible. But obviously, everybody, when you go out, once you graduate from your hometown, then you go and explore other towns, and you go explore other careers and other journeys. So it's just very, very exciting. I feel bad for the young lady. Kaylee Spaney. I think that's the right character. Erin, she's the girl that unfortunately she gets beat up, but her boyfriend Dylan, they have a baby, right? And now she goes to this party, and she's catching up with some friends, but the friends are still young. They got no kids, they got no responsibilities, but she has a baby now. So now she can't be young. She can't be the young little girl that she once were, because now you got responsibility, right? So it's just one of those things that's very good. Now, that's the show that I'm currently watching. I haven't dabbled too much into it, but it's really, really, really good. I encourage people to watch it. It's a great, great show. 4 Emmys, so and this show it's been out for about a year and a half now, I think, maybe 2 years, and I'm just now getting to it. I've been watching a lot of shows. I watched the newest episode of The Pit, when the old lady, the 80-year-old, they had to get scrub her doo doo out. And one of the doctors got shitted on. That, let me tell you, the pit is the pit. I was like, oh god, no. But Mare of Easttown, guys, check it out. It is one of those things that is very fantastic. Now I'm going to turn it over to my other radio host personalities, and of course Simone, Racheal, and Cera. You guys enjoy the rest of the episode, and I'll be back to close us out. But stay tuned.
Good morning, Kennedy. Here's the front page news, live from Coffee Talk, presented by Spotify. Many 50 Cent fans wish he would put his beefs into new tracks rather than continuously troll his opponents online. 50 Cent recently sat down for a new interview with Rolling Stone. In this interview, he discussed business in hip-hop, comparisons to other moguls like Jay-Z, and much more. However, one of the most important through lines throughout this conversation was his multifaceted explanation of why he doesn't drop new hip-hop music anymore. First, 50 Cent revealed he almost dropped a mixtape to respond to the likes of Jim Jones, Fabulous, Mano, and Dave East. They recently criticized him on the Let's Rap About It podcast for his Diddy documentary, and that spiraled into a lot of back and forth, but never in the booth. 50 chose against it because it would be giving them more attention, like in other feuds. But he also answered a question about what it would take for him to drop again. "Look, I'm going to make music," 50 Cent said. "I'm excited that this is the feeling. The general consensus is they want to hear something new from me, right? You can have the best verse, but I don't think you should have the best verse at 50 years old. I think hip-hop is connected to youth culture, and I think simplicity is the part of why it's the best music." Fifth also brought up how hip-hop audiences obsess over a breakout and always miss that first thing an artist did, countering the interviewer's Nas example of longevity. Going on to dominate other fields like television, not wanting to compete with smaller artists whom he surpassed financially and culturally, and being in a new content era that might not mesh with the music folks love from him. What I watch them get excited about is the mentality from 03, 02, the mixtape Fifth, and I'm in a different place, he shared. I couldn't have had all the success that you've seen if I was still thinking the same way. Yeah, and you've got to kind of, I wouldn't say immature with these things because it's too easy to describe it that way, but you've got to grow with your material at the same time. To grow into a different space and kind of offer something different. Of course, it's not like the G-Unit mogul has been completely radio silent since his last studio album when it comes to new music. For example, last November, he dropped the Fightland track with Chef G, Sleepy Hallow, and Jeremiah. Next on the show, add HNHH as a preferred source on Google. J. Cole interpolated DMX's classic How It's Going Down hook on the chorus to Life Sentence off of his new album, The Fall Off. J. Cole had a lot of tributes to hip-hop on his new and presumably final album, The Fall Off, and one of its most apparent homages is to the late, great DMX. The track Life Sentence, the fifth track on the second disc, Disc 39, interpolates and slightly shifts the main chorus of X's classic relationship cut, 1998's How It's Going Down. What type of games are being played? How's it going down? It's on till it's gone, then I gots to know now. Is you with me or what? Think I'm trying to get me a nut? Just 'cause honeys want to give me the butt? What? The original chorus goes, focusing on a side guy who refrains from breaking up a family unit. But Cole's version emphasizes his marriage to his wife. This made many fans, including @1DJ First Class on Twitter, to look back at DMX's praise of J. Cole during an interview on The Breakfast Club in 2012. J. Cole is nice, J. Cole is nice, he answered when asked who was impressing him at the time. I heard his first song on the radio before I even knew who he was. Like, damn, who's that? Just grabbed my attention like that. This joins other J. Cole The Fall Off updates in the discourse, whether it's fans continuing to unpack the music or witnessing what else he's doing to put the record out there. For example, there's his viral trunk sale tour in which he went around various North Carolina spots selling CD copies of the project like in the good old days of his come-up.
Good Monday morning, folks. You know what's fascinating about professional sports? sometimes the biggest stories aren't about dramatic exits or public meltdowns. They're about those rare moments when everyone acts like adults and parts ways gracefully. That's exactly what we're seeing with this James Harden trade.
The timing of this couldn't be more interesting. I mean, here's a team that's been absolutely on fire since Christmas Day, winning 71% of their games, and yet they're making this major move.
Well, what really strikes me is how different this is from Harden's previous exits. Remember the drama in Houston, the mess in Brooklyn, even Philadelphia had its share of tension. But this time he's literally showing up at the training facility, getting treatment, working out with teammates, all while knowing he's about to be traded.
That scene with Tyronn Lue really captures it all, doesn't it? Walking over to Harden on the training table, teasing him about his favorite word being weird. It's almost like a friend saying goodbye rather than a coach losing a star player.
You know what's really interesting about this whole situation? The financial aspect that led to it. Last summer, Harden, who's 36 now, wanted a contract similar to Jimmy Butler's. We're talking about a 2-year, $111 million deal. But the Clippers weren't comfortable with that kind of commitment.
And that's where things get complicated, right? Because Harden had just made third team All-NBA, averaging nearly 23 points and 9 assists per game. He probably felt he'd proven himself worthy of that kind of contract.
Exactly, and yet he still chose to stay in LA initially, accepting a deal where only $13.8 million of his second-year salary would be guaranteed. That's a pretty significant compromise for someone of his caliber.
So what do you think was the turning point? Was it the team's early season struggles when they were 6-21, barely ahead of some of the worst teams in the league?
Well, that definitely played a part, but I think it was more about this mutual recognition that the window for this version of the Clippers was closing. You've got Leonard and George struggling with injuries. And even though Harden was brought in to be this stabilising force, playing in 44 of the first 47 games this season, it just wasn't enough.
The way this aligns with Cleveland's needs is pretty remarkable, too. They've got these two young big men in Mobley and Allen, plus Donovan Mitchell, who could use some help carrying the offensive load.
And that's what makes this trade so fascinating from a basketball perspective. The Cavaliers are getting a former MVP who can still play at an all-star level, while the Clippers get Darius Garland, a 26-year-old two-time all-star who could be part of their next era.
You know what really stands out to me? The way Harden handled this whole situation. His quote about not wanting to hold the Clippers back, wanting them to have draft capital to rebuild, that shows a level of maturity we don't always see in professional sports.
Right, and when he says, maybe we just don't see a future together, maybe we just outgrew each other, that's such a mature way to frame it. It's like he's learned from those previous messy exits and decided to handle this one differently.
The timing of all this is pretty interesting too, especially with this ongoing NBA investigation into the Clippers about potential salary cap circumvention with that Kawhi Leonard endorsement deal.
Though it's worth noting that sources close to Harden say that investigation didn't factor into his decision. But you can't ignore the fact that this trade happened against that backdrop, along with the Clippers' other moves like trading Zubac to the Pacers.
Speaking of endings, Kawhi Leonard's response when asked if this era felt unfinished really hits hard. From what was expected, it's over. Guys are gone. There's something so final about that.
You know what this whole situation reminds me of? It's like when a company goes through a major restructuring, but instead of it being this dramatic, painful process, everyone just gets it. They understand it's time for change and handle it professionally.
That's a really good comparison. And in the end, everyone got something they needed. Cleveland got their veteran star, the Clippers got younger, and Harden got a fresh start with a team that might give him his best shot at a championship.
And maybe that's the biggest lesson here. Sometimes the most successful transitions aren't about dramatic exits or burning bridges. They're about recognizing when it's time to move on and doing so with mutual respect and understanding.
Well, it certainly sets a new standard for how these kinds of high-profile trades can be handled in the future.
Absolutely right. And you know what's really going to be interesting to watch? How this shapes both teams going forward. Will Cleveland finally have the piece they need to make a serious run in the East? Will the Clippers be able to rebuild effectively around Garland? These next few months are going to tell us a lot.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Gaming Pulse, your weekly deep dive into the digital realms. I'm your host, Emma Johnson, and oh, do we have some juicy topics to unpack today. It's been a fascinating week in the gaming world, with whispers of old-school demo experiences making a comeback, and the ever-present conversation around adapting our beloved virtual universes to the big screen. We're going to touch on Nintendo's latest foray into getting us off the couch for a demo, specifically the buzz around Mario Tennis Fever, and then shift gears to the high-stakes world of fantasy adaptations with the ongoing discussions surrounding a potential HBO series for Baldur's Gate 3. Fan expectations are through the roof, and predictably, so are the anxieties. How do developers and creators navigate that tightrope? And as tech reviewers, how do we cut through the noise to deliver the real scoop? Grab your favorite beverage because we're about to jump right in, eh? First up, let's talk about something a little retro, yet entirely fresh, the Mario Tennis Fever demo. Now, in an age where everything is just a download away, Nintendo has decided, bless their hearts, to encourage us to brave the outdoors and head to a physical store to try out this demo. It's certainly a unique approach, isn't it? On one hand, it's a brilliant way to create a buzz, a special event feel. It reminds me of the old days, waiting in line at EB Games to try out the newest N64 title. On the other hand, it's a bit of a logistical challenge for many. Is this a genius marketing move or a bit out of touch with modern gaming habits? I think it taps into a certain nostalgia, making the act of playing a demo an experience again, rather than just another click. You have to commit, you have to make a journey. And for a game like Mario Tennis, which thrives on local multiplayer and social interaction, perhaps seeing others play or competing in person just adds that extra layer of excitement. It makes you wonder how you'd even promote such an event through, say, a radio ad. How do you convey that unique call to action? Get off your couch, over the airwaves. Moving from the tennis court to the Sword Coast, let's discuss the elephant in the room, a Baldur's Gate 3 HBO show. Oh, the discussions I've seen online. The director of BG3 has apparently shared some optimistic notes, which is great, but the fan base, as expected, is already raising alarms. Adapting a sprawling, choice-driven RPG like Baldur's Gate 3, where your story is paramount, into a linear television series is an immense challenge. You're talking about hundreds of hours of narrative and countless character permutations. The fear, naturally, is that it'll lose its essence or fundamentally misunderstand what makes the game so beloved. Characters might be simplified, choices ignored, or critical plot points altered for television pacing. But then, you have the potential for something truly epic. Imagine the cinematic scope and incredible production values HBO is known for, bringing Faerun to life with the budget it deserves. It's a tightrope walk, balancing creative vision with the fervent expectations of a dedicated community. How do you even begin to advertise a show like that to both hardcore fans and newcomers? It needs an ad that hints at the scale and stakes, appealing to both demographics, and maybe reassuring fans it's in good hands. And that brings us to a fascinating challenge in the tech and gaming world. How do you capture attention and drive action purely through audio? We're talking about radio ads. In an era dominated by visual media, crafting a compelling radio spot is almost an art form. It's about painting mental images, creating urgency, and making your message stick without a single pixel. Think about it. You're driving, listening to your favorite station, and suddenly an ad comes on. It needs to grab you instantly. For a game demo like Mario Tennis Fever, or a massive TV adaptation like Baldur's Gate 3, how do you condense that excitement into 30 or 60 seconds of pure sound? You need an attention-grabbing hook right off the bat, something that makes heads turn, or rather, ears perk up. Then you introduce what you're selling and its main benefit. For a demo, maybe it's experience the fun before you buy, or for a show, dive into a world you thought only existed in your imagination. It's a different muscle to flex compared to designing a flashy billboard or a viral video. You really have to focus on sound-friendly elements, clear pronunciation, and repetition to make that brand name resonate. So let's try to draft some elements of a radio ad right here, eh?
Okay, let's get down to brass tacks and imagine we're creating an ad for something big, like a new gaming experience or event. We start with the hook, something like, "Tired of endless loading screens and solo sessions?" That immediately speaks to a common gaming frustration. Then we introduce our product and its primary benefit. Prepare yourself for the Mario Tennis Fever live demo event. Experience lightning-fast volleys and super-powered serves with friends in person. See how we introduce the name and a benefit? Next, key features. 2 or 3. Discover explosive character abilities and dynamic court challenges. Feel the thrill of victory with intuitive controls and vibrant graphics. Even without visuals, I'm trying to create that mental image. Address an issue. Is your couch potato routine getting a little too routine? Break free. And how it solves it. Join the action at participating GameStop locations for an unforgettable hands-on tennis experience. Time sensitivity is crucial. This weekend only, before the game's official launch. And for the call to action, don't miss out. Visit GameStop.com/Mario Tennis for locations and times. That's GameStop.com/Mario Tennis. Repetition, clarity, and a friendly but authoritative tone are key. You want people to instantly know what to do and where to go. It's all about creating excitement and a clear pathway to action, purely through sound.
So, as you can hear, crafting an effective radio ad, even for something as visually rich as gaming, is about understanding the medium's unique constraints and strengths. It's a fantastic exercise in concise, vivid storytelling. Whether it's driving people to a physical demo, like the Mario Tennis Fever event, or trying to manage fan expectations for a highly anticipated adaptation, like the Baldur's Gate 3 HBO series, the principles of clear communication and compelling narrative remain essential across all forms of media. The gaming world is constantly evolving, throwing us new ways to play, new stories to consume, and new challenges in how we talk about them. From in-store demos sparking nostalgia to directors offering optimistic reassurances amidst fan alarms, it's never a dull moment. I hope this dive into everything from game demos and high-stakes adaptations to the nuanced art of audio advertising has given you some fresh perspectives. Remember, whether you're playing, watching, or creating, the story and the experience are what truly matter. That's all for this week's Gaming Pulse. I'm Emma Johnson, signing off. Stay curious, stay gaming, and we'll catch you next time. Eh?
Time to throw it back. Good morning, City. You're locked into the coffee. Good morning, City. You're locked into the coffee talk, where the beats are hot, the conversations are real, and the culture wakes up first. Pour up, tune in, and let's talk. Coffee talk. Go. Listen.